about politics in South Africa. I'm going to focus on the Republic of South Africa, but I'm going to generalize to the entire continent of Africa. And I'm even going to talk about Lesotho a little bit in this as well. All right. So shout out to the brothers and sisters here in Lesotho who came out. It was definitely good to see everybody these past couple days in Lesotho. I enjoyed myself. A lot of love, a lot of good food. Everything was popping. So I'm going to head on back to Philadelphia. Me and my National Independent Black Parent Association brethren, we're going to be going to the Special Education Conference in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania next Friday. And then I'll be heading on out to Japan, Tokyo. You will see me soon, Tokyo, on the 20th of May, Nagoya, Japan on the 21st of May. Then I believe we have Beijing on the 25th and Shanghai on the 27th, or Shanghai, China on the 25th and Beijing on the 27th, be that as it may. Now, I've been coming to South Africa for a couple of years now. I've observed the political situation, and although I may not be expert in it, I am definitely more than a novice. And as a revolutionary Pan-African nationalist, I would just like to talk to my brothers and sisters in South Africa. By the way, I want to give a shout out to all those brothers and sisters in South Africa who came out to politic with me in Johannesburg the other day. I know it was a quick visit, but I thoroughly enjoyed the whole debate and discussion, debate and chill show. That was very, very powerful. Now, as we all know, apartheid allegedly fell in South Africa in 1994. Allegedly. But I want to say, based on my experience in South Africa, that apartheid is still very much alive in South Africa, is very much alive in most of Africa. Now, one of the things that white supremacy has done and continues to do in order to get over on African people is they constantly push a narrative of democracy. Everywhere the European powers go, they keep talking about democracy. Bill Clinton, democracy. George W. Bush, democracy. Barack Obama, democracy. Donald Trump, democracy. Democracy. So, what I want Africa to understand is that Africa don't need no more damn democracy. The Republic of Ghana, the first independent African state, excluding Liberia and Ethiopia, to gain its independence in 1957, the Republic of Ghana just celebrated 60 years of independence. So the African independence experiment is about 60 years old. And the only thing that keeps being shoved down African people's throats is democracy. The right to control your future with a vote. Let's talk about that for a minute. The right to control your future with a vote. First of all, and I want y'all to hear me very well. Shout out to my brothers and sisters in Cape Town, Joburg, Soweto, Alexandria, Pretoria, the Eastern Cape. Shout out to all of you. Durban, KwaZulu. But let me say, if democracy could change anything, it would be illegal. And if democracy could make Africa free, democracy would have been illegal. So anytime you find your oppressor pushing a strategy, a specific and particular tactical strategy for independence and freedom, you know it's useless. You know it's useless. Now, South Africa needs to take a page out of the African American book. See, Africa only 60 years into this voting thing. Black America is 150 years into this voting thing. What has voting got Black America? Nothing. What has voting got Black Africa? Nothing. And that's why the white man pushes it. South Africa don't need to vote. Nigeria don't need to vote. Lesotho don't need to vote. What Africa needs is development. What Africa needs is development. Africa don't need no goddamn democracy. Africa needs development. Development. What good is casting a vote when that vote does not guarantee you a share of your nation's wealth? What good is casting a vote when that vote does not guarantee you a share of your nation's financial wealth? What good is casting a vote when that vote does not determine your share of your nation's land? What good is voting when you're choosing between options that were pre-selected? Let's be clear. The Africans you vote for are pre-selected. All of them. And this is no disrespect. They pre-selected. If you get into office, you were pre-selected by white supremacy. Let's just keep it real. Pre-selected. And the reason America, France, Britain pushes democracy is because scientifically speaking, whichever candidate or party gets the most money spent on them, whichever candidate or party gets the most money spent on them will normally win the election 85% of the time. 85% of the time, whoever spends the most money will win. Let's look at Barack Obama. Barack Obama spent more money, or should I say, white folks spent more money on Barack Obama's campaign than any president in American history. More money was spent on the black president than any other president in American history. Obama's campaign cost $1 billion. Facts. It was $1 billion campaign. And the reason they had to spend so much money on that campaign is they had to convince Israel that Obama would be loyal. They had, because Israel is the 51st state of America. They had to convince Israel that Obama would be loyal. And then they had to convince white America that Obama would be loyal. And most of all, they had to convince black Africa. That's right. They had to convince black Africa that Barack Obama would actually be in Africa's favor. Facts. Facts. And by the way, Africa, in case y'all don't know, Barack Obama was made president for 2 reasons. 2 reasons, Africa. I'm talking to black Africa. And I shouldn't have to say that I'm talking to black Africa because there's only one kind of Africa, and that's a black Africa. Anyone in Africa who ain't black, a direct descendant of the original inhabitants of the mother continent, is an invader or a descendant of an invader, or you are an opportunist. Period. Period. And one thing Africa has to stop doing is allowing aliens to come into Africa and make them feel so comfortable at home. Africa has to stop letting aliens come into our continent and act like they own it. And act like they own it. I see the Indians in Durban, the East Indians in Durban, South Africa, act like they own it. The Chinese in South Africa and other parts of Africa act like they own it. The Anglo-Saxons treat it like it's their own personal property. The Arabs act like they own it. Now here's the question, Africa. And I'm talking to all the countries. Shout out to Ghana, shout out to Togo, shout out to Benin. We got that 2-week Africa trip. If anyone wants to go with Dr. Umar Johnson on a 2-week trip to Africa this summer, July 27th to August the 10th, Ghana, Togo, Benin, email me, drumarjohnson.com. Get that registration done. You need to get your first deposit in by May 10th. You need to get your first deposit in. You only got a couple days. There will be some late exceptions, or you could text me 215-989-9858, 215-989-9858 if you want to go with the Prince of Pan-Africanism to Ghana, Togo, Benin, triple threat, 4K, everything included. Get with me. But getting back to my point, Africa, when you go to India, do they make you feel like India is the home of African people? Do you feel at home when you go to India? I'll be in Japan next week, China the week after. How much you want to bet they don't make me feel at home in their country? When you go to Britain, no one tells you in Britain that this is your home. They let you know that this belongs to white folks. So why is it when all other cultures come into Africa, they can act like Africa belongs to them, but you cannot go into their home and act like their home belongs to you? Explain that to me. Explain that to me. Explain that to me. The South African Constitution, I have a problem with that. I have a problem with the South African Constitution because the South African Constitution says that South Africa belongs to all who lives in it. I got a problem with that. South Africa belongs to all who lives in it. Can somebody find me another country on earth? Can you find me another country on earth where the Constitution says, the Constitution says that the country belongs to everyone who lives in it? America is a nation of immigrants. America is a nation of immigrants, but the United States Constitution does not say that America belongs to everyone in it. America is for white, of white, and by white. America is for white, of white, and by white. And if that is the case, the Republic of South Africa, the Republic of South Africa, the Republic of South Africa should be of Black Africa, for Black Africa, and by Black Africa. That's right. I said South Africa should be of Black Africa, for Black Africa, and by Black Africa. Don't you think it's ironic, very clever, and interesting that the most minerally rich countries in the world belong to everybody? Isn't that ironic? China don't belong to everybody. The UK don't belong to everybody. Canada don't belong to everybody. But when you come to South Africa, one of the most minerally rich countries on the face of the earth, it don't belong to the people who God put there. It belongs to everybody. I got a problem with that. I got a problem with that. Now, the African Union, which grew out of the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey's vision for a United States of Africa, is not a United States of Africa. And although we support the African Union, those of us who are politically inclined, who do the analyses, understand that the African Union will never be what it needs to be. The African Union will never be what it needs to be until the member states of the African Union are economically independent from the Western powers. You cannot be dependent on the World Bank. You cannot be dependent on the International Monetary Fund. You cannot be dependent on the UK and France and Russia and China for loans and handouts and claim to be a governing body for African people. How in the hell can an enslaved agency bring freedom to an oppressed people when you not free yourself? I said, how can the African Union bring freedom to the African continent when the African Union isn't even free? I'm not being disrespectful. But as the Prince of Pan-Africanism, Garveyite #1, revolutionary Pan-African nationalist extraordinaire, I got to call it how I see it. We are not carrying out RBG politics. And what bothers me the most about the condition that Africa is in, what bothers me the most about the condition that Africa is in is the fact that it doesn't look like she's going to get out of this situation. It doesn't look like the mother continent is going to get out of this situation anytime soon. Now, for Africans in the diaspora who are watching this seminar, for Africans in the diaspora who are watching this seminar, y'all might be saying, he lives in the United States of America. He's a Pennsylvania Pan-Africanist, a Pennsylvania school psychologist, a Pennsylvania doctor of clinical science. He's an educator in the United States. Why is he so concerned with what's going on in Africa? You live in the United States. You are 19 hours away in Lesotho. You are 19 hours away from where you were born. Why does it matter what happens to Africa as far as Black Americans are concerned? What difference does it make to Black Canada what happens to Black Africa? What difference does it make to Black Brazil with regard to what happens to Black Africa? What difference does it make to Cuba and Panama and Jamaica in St. Kitts, in Bahamas, in Bermuda, in Turks and Caicos, Montserrat? What difference does it make to the Caribbean islands as it relates to what happens to Black Africa? Let me tell our brothers and sisters across the diaspora why you must be intimately involved in the politics of the mother continent. Let me tell you why you must be intimately involved in the politics of the mother continent. And to explain this, I will give you a quote from His Excellency, the preeminent prophet and king of revolutionary Pan-African nationalism, the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, who said, quote, "A strong man is strong everywhere." Garvey said, "A strong man is strong everywhere." What was Mosiah talking about when he said that? I'll explain it. Chinese live in every country. I see Chinese when I go to Toronto. I see Chinese when I go to Montreal. I see Chinese in Austria. I see Chinese in Holland. I see Chinese in Paris. I see Chinese in the UK. I see Chinese in Jamaica. In fact, the damn Chinese is going to buy up Jamaica if them bougie-ass politicians on the Jamaican island don't stop selling the land of Garvey and Marley away for 30 dirty pieces of silver. I'm going to say it again. I said Jamaica, the land of Garvey and Marley, is endangered of becoming a Chinese colony because the bourgeoisie Jamaican politicians keep on selling everything on the island to China. And they need to stop. How dare you let the land of Garvey and Marley get sold into the Red Empire? But anyway, Chinese are all around the world, right? All around the world. They're everywhere, right? So then, when's the last time you seen a homeless Chinese? How often do you see Chinese in non-Chinese jails? When is the last time you seen a Chinese juvenile beat or murdered by a police in any country outside of China? You don't. Do you know why And by the way, Chinese have gangs. Oh, yes, they do. Chinese have gangs in America. Chinese have gangs all across the world. But they're never beat by police. They never killed by police. You ain't never had a Chinese Michael Brown. You ain't never had a Chinese Sandra Bland. You ain't never had a Chinese Trayvon Martin. You ain't had a Chinese Philando Castile. You ain't had a Chinese Tamir Rice. You ain't had a Chinese Alton Sterling. You haven't had a Chinese Freddie Gray. Why not? Why not? You know why? Because China ain't having that shit. I'm going to say it again. China ain't having that shit. You understand? Countries know that you better not mistreat Chinese people or there will be hell to pay. That's why they don't mess with Chinese. When's the last time you seen a European Jew beat up by police? A European Jew in the unemployment line. And you don't see too many of them going to jail either. The same thing for Arabs, the same thing for East Indians in countries outside of their national homeland. Because strong nations dictate a strong presence wherever you live. Let me say it again. Strong nations dictate a strong presence no matter where you live. So the reason Chinese and Jews and Arabs and East Indians are not abused, because they have countries, they have nation states who will stand up, speak out, who will show up and show out if any member of their race, if any member of their race are oppressed or depressed anywhere on earth. There's only one race. There's only one race. You find them in jail in Asia, you find them in jail in Canada, they filling up the jails in the UK, filling up the jails in the United States, get killed by police all over the world. They are unemployed and homeless and in a soup kitchen all over the world. And guess who that is? What is the one race that doesn't get any respect wherever they are, including their own continental homeland? And that is us, African people. All the other races can do whatever the hell they want to do to black folks wherever they are, whenever they want to do it, because we do not have. We as an African race, I'm talking African family first. I'm talking African family first as an African people. As an African people, what country do we have? Central America, South America, the Caribbean, Africa. What country do we have that has the courage to stand up and be the vanguard for all African people? What country says, I'm going to make it my business to show up and show out? I'm going to make it my business to speak up and speak out whenever I see African people mistreated around the world. You can't name one. You can't name one. You can't name one. What did His Excellency, the provisional prophet and king, the preeminent prophet and king of revolutionary Pan-African nationalism, the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, say? He said, I look for the black man's king in his kingdom. I look for his military and his men of big affairs, and I could not find it. So I decided that I should help to make it. Brothers and sisters, we got to make Africa great if we want to be great. See, I know the black UK, y'all don't want to hear this because you got your face all up in the queen. The black UK, y'all don't want to hear this. Black America, y'all don't want to hear this. Black Canada, y'all don't want to hear this. Y'all don't want to hear this. But guess what? As Africa goes, so goes you. As Africa goes, so goes you. The children can never be in a better position than the mother. I said the children of the continent can never outpace the respect and esteem that the mother gets. You want to know why black America stuck in quicksand? You want to know why black America ain't moved an iota since the end of slavery? You want to know why black America? Because your whole struggle is devoid of Africa. Your entire political strategy has nothing to do with the mother continent. The same thing for Black Canada and the same thing for the Black UK. And not only that, guess what? Black America, Black UK, Black Canada, we need our own trilateral commission. You see how the Rockefellers got a trilateral? America, UK, and Japan? America, UK, and Japan is the Rockefellers trilateral. Well, Black America, Black Canada, and Black UK, we need a trilateral commission. You know why? Because we have to help pull Africa out of the Dark Ages. And when I speak of Dark Ages, I'm speaking of racial oppression, because Africa never been in no damn Dark Ages. That was for Europe. We never had to learn humanity. We gave humanity to the world. I said Africa never had Dark Ages. Europe had the Dark Ages. Asia had the Dark Ages. The Middle East had the Dark Ages. Africa never had a Dark Ages. We always been humanity, and we gave humanity to the world. But it's going to be up to Black America, Black UK, and Black Canada to unite financially, politically, and help improve our mother continent. Our mother continent. Our mother continent. You in America trying to get equality. They don't give equality to populations. They give equality to nations. You got to reattach yourself psychologically to Africa. They don't give equality to populations. They give equality to nations. They will give equality to the Chinese. They will give equality to the Israeli. They will give equality to the East Indian. They don't give equality to Black America, but they will give equality to Africans in America. Reattach yourself to your continent of origin. See, we've been running away from our blackness in America so long. We've been running away from our... How the hell the white man gonna respect you where you ain't got the backing of a nation state? Don't nobody get respect unless they have a backing of a nation state. Why you think the white man took a piece of Palestine and gave it to the European Jews? Why do you think the white man took a piece of Palestine and gave it to the European Jews? Because without a nation state, without the backing of a nation state, you as good as dead. You as good as dead. You ain't no American. When you become an American? You Negroes with your PhDs and your JDs and your MDs and your white wives and your houses in the suburbs, when you become an American? Don't nobody see no American when you walking down the street. Did George Zimmerman see an American when he shot Trayvon? Did Darren Wilson see an American when he shot Michael Brown? If y'all don't stop this illusion of inclusion, this post-traumatic slavery disease, if y'all don't cut that shit out, we too far along for that now. That's over with. Time to outgrow it. Time to outgrow it. So we got to help Africa out. And Africa got to help us out. It's hands across the Atlantic if we want to come up out of this situation. Now, getting back to apartheid in South Africa. I will be in the United Kingdom October the 1st through October the 4th. Prince of Pan-Africanism will be in the United Kingdom National Tour October the 1st to October the 14th. Brixton, London, Wolverhampton, Luton, Birmingham, Manchester. The Prince of Pan-Africanism is back. Now, when apartheid fell, they gave our brothers and sisters in South Africa a vote. They gave them a vote. They gave them a flag that barely has any black on it. How in the hell does the South African flag barely have any black on the flag? How is that possible? Black is the smallest, least represented color on the South African flag. How can black be the least represented color on the flag of a predominantly, overwhelmingly black nation? That whole South African flag tells us the story of the co-optation of the new South Africa by white supremacy. I said the South African flag tells us the whole, when you look at that flag, first time I seen that flag, I said, I know the fix is in. First time I saw that flag. The fix has to be in. Because who in the hell would sign this flag? This don't look like the flag of no black African country. And why is my color, the color of my people, the color of my culture, the color of my skin, the least represented color on the South African flag? So let me get this right. The Boers and the British been raping and robbing South Africa blind for more than 4 centuries. For more than 4 centuries, raping and robbing South Africa blind for more than 4 centuries. A freedom struggle ensues. And from that freedom struggle, apartheid is dropped, a multiracial government is put up, democracy is implemented. 4 centuries of rape, robbery, oppression, and abuse. Apartheid falls, a multiracial government is put up, democracy is implemented, but that's not what the freedom struggle was for. The South African freedom struggle was not for no damn vote. The South African freedom struggle was not for a vote. The South African freedom struggle was not for a vote. It was not for a multiracial government. The South African freedom struggle fundamentally was about giving back the land to the people it belongs to. If I'm wrong, South Africa, tell me. If I'm wrong, South Africa, the freedom struggle in South Africa was about giving the land back to the people that it was stolen from. That's what it was about. It wasn't about no vote, and it wasn't about no constitution. It was about giving the land back to the people it was stolen from. Number one, give the land back. Number two, the South African freedom struggle was about a redistribution of South Africa's wealth. A redistribution of South Africa's wealth. How the hell can apartheid fall when the people who built it up still control South Africa economy today? I said the people who created apartheid still run South Africa today. Where is the freedom for my Xhosa? Where is the freedom for my Zulu? Where is the freedom for my Swazi? Where is the freedom for the Khoi people and the other dozens of nations of South Africa? You got to redistribute the wealth. You got to redistribute the wealth. And then after you redistribute the wealth, you got to redistribute the financial capital of South Africa. That means we got to go into the banks. We got to go into the banks. We got to take back the diamonds. We got to take back the gold. We got to take back all the resources of South Africa, and then we got to go into the banks and redistribute the wealth of South Africa. I hate to say this, South Africa. I hate to say this, South Africa. But your freedom struggle was co-opted. Your freedom struggle was co-opted. And see, I'm not blaming our ancestor, the Honorable Nelson Mandela, totally. I'm not. I'm not blaming him totally. And I'm going to tell you, South Africa, why I do not blame Nelson Mandela in totality for the failure of the South African freedom struggle. I blame you, not Mandela. Why? Because you should have known better. South Africa should have known better. You don't let a man who has spent 27 years away from the struggle. I understand some was in jail, some was in a private house, whatever. 27 years away from the struggle. You don't let a man at that age who has been that ostracized serve as the primary negotiator of your freedom. You don't do that. You don't do that. But see, the problem in South Africa, just like all of Africa, just like all of Black America and everywhere else across the world, is we still have this white Jesus Savior complex. We still have this white Jesus Savior complex. complex. What do I mean when I say that? We have been trained and indoctrinated by church to believe that one man is going to come in on a white horse like white Jesus and save all black folks. That is not going to happen. That is not going to happen. Mandela should not have been out front. Okay, if you wanted him to be out front, fine. He could have been the face. Obama was the face. He could have been the face, but he shouldn't have been making the decisions alone. There should have been others there who were more essential to the struggle at that time to negotiate the terms. You do not negotiate a freedom that does not include land. You do not negotiate a freedom that does not include redistribution of resources. You do not negotiate a freedom that does not include redistribution of the wealth. A multiracial government, that's a form of oppression. A multiracial government in a predominantly black country is a form of white supremacy. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it again. You ain't got no business having a multiracial government in a country where 80% of the people are black. That don't make no sense. America is more diverse than South Africa, and America ain't got no multiracial government. Canada is probably the most diverse country in the world. They ain't got no multiracial government. Those governments are ran by white folks. So why is South Africa a multiracial government? The struggle has been co-opted. The struggle has been co-opted. And they murdered Chris Ani. They murdered Chris Ani. That was not, here we go again with the lone gunman. We done already been through this lone gunman crap with Dr. King. Remember? They said James Earl Ray killed Dr. King. And then we ultimately find out that it wasn't James Earl Ray. It was the FBI and the CIA. That white guy was a paid assassin. He didn't do that on his own. He was paid by the apartheid power structure. Chris Ani's assassin was paid by the apartheid power structure to take him out. And why? Why did Chris Ani have to be taken out? Because Chris Ani, who was more popular than ancestor Mandela at the time, with all due respect, Chris Ani was more popular than ancestor Mandela at that particular time. And Chris Ani was not going to sign off on those negotiations. Chris Ani was going to put back Umkhonto with Sizwe. They was going to get the weapons. They was going to go back to the bush, and they was going to resume the struggle. He wasn't going to sign off on that. All the South Africans who died, all the South Africans who went to jail, and we going to settle for a vote? No wealth, a vote? No money, a vote? No resources, no banks, but we supposed to settle for a vote? I don't want no damn democracy. I want development. I don't want no damn democracy. I want development. Somebody just asked who Chris Ani was. You need to do your research, my brother. See, one of our problems in America, we don't study African freedom fighters outside of the United States. You got to get over that. This is a Pan-African struggle. Our freedom fighters are all over the world. You got to study the freedom fighters in the Caribbean. Study the freedom fighters in South America. You got to study them all over. Chris Ani is someone you need to know. He's someone you need to know, who was murdered just before the elections. Who was murdered just before the South African elections to make sure he didn't tell Nelson Mandela to stop smoking that apartheid weed and get your head screwed back on, because we ain't selling out on this. See, had South Africa kept going, y'all would have took y'all country back. If Nelson Mandela was not used, and again, I respect the young Mandela, but I'm going to be politically critical of the elder Mandela. Mandela is a hero of mine. He's a hero of mine. When I pour libations, I call out Nelson Mandela's name. I call on Madiba, but it's the young Madiba, the elder Madiba I have some issues with, but he was an elder. I cannot condemn him. I cannot condemn the elder Mandela because he was an elder. Y'all had no business putting him out front. I'm not going to condemn him. Did he make mistakes? You would too if you was that old after 27 years. You would too if you were that old after 27 years. But had they not used Nelson Mandela to go into the townships and calm the youth down, see, Mandela said, go home and vote. Let's win the election. He took the revolutionary energy and redirected it into democracy. Nelson Mandela took the revolutionary energy of the South African youth and redirected it into democracy, which is what the apartheid power structure wanted them to. Democracy does not lead to a redistribution of wealth and power. So they could give you the vote all day. They don't care about no black presidents. You think the white man care about some black presidents? Who believe that? Who actually think that they give a damn about you electing Nelson Mandela, Barack Obama, or whoever else you want to pull out your hat? They don't care about that. They care about power. This is about power, not politics, power. And then, just like in Black America, what's going on in Africa is the power structure is financing both of the major parties. They do this in every country in Africa. The power structure finances all of the leading candidates. They finance the whole campaign. They finance the campaign. You know why they do that? Because the hand that pays is the hand that rules. How can a black head of state in Africa carry out a black agenda when their whole campaign was financed by the oppressor? There needs to be a rule in every African country. There needs to be a rule in every African country. You don't run for office and take money from aliens. That should be a rule. That should be a rule. You should not be allowed to take money from white governments and white corporations if you're running for office in Africa. Lesotho. Shout out to my Basotho brothers and sisters here in Lesotho. Well, Lesotho about to have elections on what? First week of June. Lesotho is about to have elections the first week of June. I got 4 questions for my Basotho brothers and sisters. Number 1, have you investigated who is financing the candidates? Now, in Lesotho, they have about 6 to 8 major parties. They have more than that, but they have about 6 to 8 major parties here in Lesotho. So my question to the Basotho people, have you investigated the leading candidates of your major parties to see who is financing the campaign? You don't vote for nobody if you don't know who's paying them. You don't vote for nobody if you don't know who's paying them. That's the first question to my Basotho brothers and sisters. Second question, who is running on a platform? And although I'm talking to my Basotho, this applies to the whole Africa. I'm talking to Basotho, but this applies to the whole Africa. I'm talking to South Africa, but this applies to the whole Africa. Which candidate is running to limit the control that foreigners have over African land and African money? That's my first question. After I find out who's financing you, my second question, which of you is running on a campaign to control and limit the amount of ownership of African land and African resources that an alien can have? This is important. You know why this is important, South Africa? You know why this is important, Botswana? You know why this is important, Swaziland? You want to know why this is important, Ethiopia and Eritrea and Togo and Congo? And Gambia, in Liberia? You know why this is important? It is important because Most aliens who come to Africa come with more resources than the native Africans because the government don't empower you financially. I'm going to say it again. Most aliens who come to African countries show up with more capital, more money than the people in the country they're coming to because African governments do not empower African people financially. They don't. African governments do not empower African people. They keep them in poverty. They keep them in poverty, dumb, deaf, and blind. So when these aliens come to African countries, they are in a position to buy up more land than the natives. They are in a position to buy up more resources than the natives. They are in a position to own more businesses than the natives. So if the government does not do something significant policy-wise to limit the control that an invader has, they will end up running your country. They will end up running your country. Take a small country like Lesotho. Lesotho is small. Beautiful country. I love it. Beautiful. That's why I'm looking at possibly putting a school here. And I also got some family in South Africa looking at the schools in Soweto. There's a lot of schools available in Soweto. And then I heard there's a couple schools in Newark, New Jersey I need to hit up. Newark, New Jersey. I'm going to go check out Newark, New Jersey and see what they got popping. They got a couple schools. You understand? But Lesotho is too small to give aliens free run of the country. You got to control them. You got to control them. And do you know something that really pisses me off in African countries? That really pisses me off? Okay? Not only South Africa and Lesotho, but the whole African continent. Our children, when they go to school, when our children go to school, they are not instructed in their native tongue. When our children go to these schools, they are told to speak French and English and Portuguese. Why are African children being made to receive their education and communication in the oppressor tongue? If Africa is free, why are African children still being educated in the tongue of their oppressor? I was told in Cape Town and in Joburg that they don't even want the African children speaking Swazi, Zulu, Xhosa. They don't even want them speaking the Khoi language. They don't even want them wearing their natural hair. Are you crazy? I'm an African in Africa, and you telling me I can't wear African hairstyle? I'm an African in Africa, and you telling me I cannot speak my native tongue? We got work to do. We got work to do. We got work to do. Yes, we got a lot of work to do. And this is one of the reasons why I'm proposing an international Pan-African Youth Conference. An international Pan-African Youth Conference to be held in South Africa. An international Pan-African Youth Conference. We need brothers and sisters from all over the world. Give me a black fist if you want to come to the International Pan-African Youth Conference to be held in South Africa. We need to put together an international media. We need a media infrastructure so we can communicate to each other all across the world. We need political infrastructure, entertainment infrastructure, economic infrastructure. Yes, we have to do this. We got work to do. We got to work hard. The white man ain't got to do this right now. He did this 300 years ago. Chinese ain't got to do this. He did this 100 years ago. You got to do it. And why do you have to do it? Because our race has been kept in a state of arrested development for 400 years. Africa was kept in a state of arrested development for 400 years. Man, I don't need to claim no status. Let me tell you something about you status Negroes. You paperwork revolutionaries. Let me say this. You paperwork revolutionary. I respect you. I respect you. I'm not going to condemn you. But listen to me. I am not a paperwork revolutionary. I do not believe in paper freedom. I do not believe there's not a single paper your ass gonna fill out that's going to get you respected in this country, that's going to give you a share of the wealth, that's going to give you a share of the resources. So take that paperwork revolutionary shit somewhere else. I don't do paperwork revolutionists, okay? You Negroes are living in a dreamland. We need real solutions, okay? Now show me a people who ever got free filling out some damn paperwork. Show me a people who ever got their land back because they filled out some paperwork. Show me, and I'll become a paperwork revolutionary. Show me that shit. See, and this is why you got to study your Garveyism. Because see, after Marcus Garvey got deported from the United States, after Marcus Garvey got deported from the United States back in 1927, he was separated from the largest black movement in modern history. You can put all the Hotep organizations today together and you don't get Garvey's numbers. And he did it without the airplane. He did it without the helicopter. He did it without the cell phone. He did it without Wi-Fi. He did it without the laptop. He did it without the TV. Garvey. But when Garvey got separated from his leaders, everybody rushed in. Everybody rushed in, claiming that they had permission from Garvey to continue leading his movement. But nobody after Garvey, and I say this with all due respect to all of the messiahs and so-called prophets that came after Garvey, none of them took you back to Africa like Garvey did. Every last one of the post-Garvey leaders and post-Garvey organizations gave you a false identity and located your origin outside of Africa. Every last one of them, they gave you a religion and they gave you a false home of origin. Every last one of them. All of a sudden, Garvey going, we ain't black. All of a sudden, Garvey gone, we ain't African. All of a sudden, Garvey gone, we ain't from the continent. We from Asia. We Asiatic all of a sudden. We Muslims. We Christians. We come from another planet. We indigenous to the United States and all this crap. Yeah, you indigenous to the United States, but where did you come from first? How did you get there? You anti-African Negroes. And that's why you got to go back to Garvey. Garvey was the only one who didn't use a religion. Marcus Garvey is the only 21st century mass leader who did not have to use a religion or create a religion to organize black people. He's the only one. He's the only one who didn't have to use a religion to organize black people. And that's a testament to the strength and seriousness and sincerity of a Garvey. I'm going to give you 3 things Garvey did no leader after Garvey even thought about it. I'm going to give you 3 things Garvey did no leader after Garvey even thought about it. Number 1. Garvey tried to create an international homeland for Africans in Africa so we could go back home if we wanted to. No leader after Garvey ever tried to get you any lands outside of this white man's country because they love America. They talk all that, we hate the white man, they love America. Garvey, the only one who tried to get you in the land outside of this country. No other leader tried to get you outside of America. Name them. Mild exception with the Hebrew brothers. A couple of the Hebrew leaders took them back to Israel, but that ain't Africa. Respectfully. Garvey tried to get you a homeland where you come from. You didn't have to go back. But if you wanted to go back, you could have. No other leader tried to get you out of America. No other leader tried to get you out of America. Second thing Garvey did, Garvey tried to create an international economic platform for black folks through the Black Star Liner, African Factories Corporation. Garvey was working on a black bank at the time of Marcus Garvey's death. Show me a leader after Garvey, name them, who tried to create an international economic platform. None of them. They were all landlocked to the United States. They didn't want nothing but this white man. They wanted nothing but this white man, claiming they don't like him, but that's all they wanted was the white man. Facts. Garvey was the only leader who tried to give you an international government. Garvey didn't come to bring you no religion. Garvey ain't come to start no little local organization. Garvey was government. The Garvey movement was about government. 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 Study your Garveyism. Now, there's been a lot of talk in South Africa about Zuma. A lot of conversation about Zuma. Now, Zuma ain't no angel. We know he's made some mistakes. But I also know that the Queen is pissed off with Zuma because Zuma abandoned her and went to BRICS. And since Zuma cut off the Queen and went to BRICS, the UK is pissed off with Zuma. And I believe that the UK's media is intentionally selling a narrative to the people of South Africa so that they will rebel and revolt against Zuma in interest of the agenda of the United Kingdom. I'm not defending his wrongdoing. I'm not defending his wrongdoing. I'm not defending his wrongdoing. What I'm saying is if Zuma was doing what the Queen wanted him to do, all of the newspapers in South Africa would be reporting favorably on Zuma. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. If Zuma was doing what the Queen wanted him to do, if he was still being her flunky, I promise you, none of the South African newspapers would be reporting negatively on Zuma. None of them would be. So although he's made mistakes, I also see him trying to get a little bit of elbow room to do what he knows the ANC should have always been doing. Because the ANC has not been on a job. And I respect the ANC. I love the ANC. I vibe with brothers and sisters from the ANC. I love and respect the EFF. I vibe with brothers and sisters from the EFF. I think it would be good if the parties could get along. Because right now it's divide and conquer, separate and rule. And now they got that puppet in the DA. They got that puppet in the Democratic Alliance playing the EFF off the ANC. And if we ain't careful, you're going to end up with a white president in South Africa. Y'all keep playing around. So y'all need to be careful in South Africa. Supreme strategy would dictate that the EFF and the AMC appear to be at odds in public. Supreme strategy would be that the EFF and ANC appear to be at odds in public, but then in private, they plotting strategy together for the emancipation and total liberation of the South African people. That's what real revolutionaries do. That's what real revolutionaries do. They don't sit around fighting each other on the white man's radio, the white man's TV, and the white man's newspaper. Get your act together. Get your act together. So for me, don't get me wrong, I've never been a fan of Zuma. Never. But I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to give that elder some room to move a little bit. Okay? I'm going to give Zuma some room to move because I think he's going to he ain't going to change the game. It's too late. But he may open up an opportunity for the next president to change the game. Now, brother Julius Malema, I respect him a lot. Young brother, soldier, read his history. I respect Julius Malema. All right? But Julius, I need you to keep it real with the people, my brother. Transparency, my brother. Transparency. If you or the EFF is getting any money from any non-African sources, put it out there so it don't come back to you later, my brother. Don't make deals with the devil. They only make deals with you so they can expose you later, Julius. They only make deals with you, Julius, so they can expose you later. If your hands are clean, keep them clean, my brother. I salute you. If your hands are clean, keep them clean. But don't make no side deal, because the white man, the queen, would love to get Julius Malema in a side deal. And then the minute Julius stopped doing what they want him to do, they expose him in the newspapers as a fraud and an opportunist. And I don't want that for my brother. Keep your hands clean, my brother. Keep your hands clean. I know you took a trip a little while ago to go meet with some of the Queen's executives. Who financed the trip? Okay? If it was financed by white folks, say it. I ain't got no problem with that. They flew me over there to meet with them. They flew you over there, Julius, because they want to fill you out. They want to fill out Julius Malema to see if you can be what they need you to be. And I'm glad you went to the meeting. You should have went. Anybody in South Africa who says Julius shouldn't have went to the UK to meet with the Queen's officials don't understand political science, and you don't understand military science. You always meet with the enemy. You always meet with the enemy and fill him out. He was supposed to go, and he needs to go again. The question was, did he make it clear? The question is, did my brother make it clear that he's not for sale? That's the only thing that matters. That's the only thing that matters. Got to make it clear that you're not for sale. Because if they can pay you, they will pay you, and then they will play you after they paid you. Look what they did to Charles Taylor in Liberia. Look what they did to Charles Taylor in Liberia. And he wasn't no saint either. But they used him, and the minute he decided it's time to renegotiate that Firestone rubber contract that they only got because player-hating W.E.B. Du Bois went to Liberia and disrupted Marcus Garvey's program for a home for African people. And because Du Bois disrupted that program and pushed the Liberian government to give Firestone that contract. That's right. Firestone got the contract to keep Garvey out. And Du Bois played a role in that. And I'm not going to condemn Du Bois. He did some good things, but he was a player-hating, light-skinned supremacist, talented 10th Negro. We got to call it like it was. W.E.B. Du Bois hated Marcus Garvey, and he hated Marcus Garvey because he felt he had a right to be the leader after Booker T. Washington died. He said, I went to Fisk, and I went to Harvard, and I went to school in Berlin. I'm half Dutch and half French. I'm light-skinned. I should be the next black leader. And Marcus Garvey took that from him with no degrees, took that from him. And W.E.B. Du Bois hated Marcus Garvey because of it. He hated him for it. And that's another big issue we got in the black freedom struggle, and that's HNIC. The head Negro in charge. HNIC, the head Negro in charge. We got a big problem with the head. Patrice Lumumba was murdered for the head Negro in charge. Mobutu assassinated a man who trained him and brought him into the government so he could be the head Negro in charge. Thomas Sankara was murdered by a man his family raised in his own house. Thomas Sankara was murdered by a man the family raised in his own house for head Negro in charge. Malcolm X was murdered for HNIC reasons. Dr. King was murdered for HNIC reasons. We got to get over that. Black men, we got to get over the HNIC. South Africa, you're going to need to have another struggle, my brother. South Africa, you're going to need to have another struggle. But this time, it ain't just going to be you. It's going to be the whole continent. There needs to be a continental revolution. There needs to be a continental revolution for a United States of Africa. They keep interrupting this feed, family, so I'm about to end it. Just want to say, my National Independent Black Parent Association family, I see all of you guys Friday in Bethlehem, PA. Tokyo, Japan, I'm going to see you on the 25th. Excuse me, the 20th. Nagoya, I'm going to see you on the 21st. Shanghai, the 25th. Beijing, the 27th. Brooklyn, New York City, the Prince of Pan-Africanism will return from his Africa-Asia World Tour to Brooklyn. The Prince of Pan-Africanism will return from his month of May Africa-Asia Tour to Brooklyn, New York City. I want the whole New York to come out. I want the whole New Jersey to come out. I want the whole Connecticut to come out. Harlem, Manhattan, Queens, Staten Island, Brooklyn, Bronx. I want to see y'all on Friday, June 2nd. The Prince of Pan-Africanism will be in New York City Friday, June 2nd at the Brown Memorial Baptist Church. Friday, June 2nd, 52 Gates Avenue. Friday, June 2nd, 52 Gates Avenue. Doors open up at 4, lecture 6 to 9, book signing to follow. 12 and under free, 65 and older free. We raising money for the Black College and Consciousness Tour. Please come on out. Even if you can't make the lecture, buy a ticket as a donation to the Black College and Consciousness Tour. Yes, Brooklyn, Detroit. We will be in Detroit for the National Independent Black Parent Association. We will be in Detroit for the National Independent Black Parent Association Conference. I'm hoping a lot of you come on out and get that training and go back to your town and start a chapter of the National Independent Black Parent Association. Detroit, Friday and Saturday, June 9th and 10th. Detroit, Friday and Saturday, June 9th and 10th, 9 to 6. You can register now. You can get your tickets for Brooklyn now. You can get your parent conference tickets for Detroit now. Minneapolis, Minnesota. Where my Minneapolis family at? Where my Minneapolis family at? The Prince of Pan-Africanism will be in Minneapolis, Minnesota on Wednesday, June the 14th. Minneapolis, Minnesota on Wednesday, June the 14th. Minneapolis, Minnesota. Get your tickets. Limited seating. Get your tickets, Minneapolis. Prince of Pan-Africanism.eventbrite.com. And then Seattle, Washington. My first visit in over 4 years. Seattle, Washington. Rest in peace to Sister Vicky, the elder, who first brought me to Seattle. Seattle, Washington on Saturday, June 17th. Seattle, Washington, Saturday, June the 17th. We will be in Seattle, Washington for a special Juneteenth lecture. Get your tickets. It's going to be powerful. Black College and Consciousness Tour, June 28th to July the 12th. I'm working on that. If you want to go to Ghana, Togo, and Benin, text me 215-989-9858, 215-989-9858, so I can text you the registration for the Africa Tour, Ghana, Togo, Benin. It's going to be powerful. So on that note, brothers and sisters, I just want to sign off saying, South Africa, I love you. You had a beautiful past. You got a beautiful future. Lesotho. I hope y'all select the right people in these upcoming elections. But remember, until you organize, the black vote will never work for Black Africa. And until you finance your own candidates, the black vote will never work for Black South Africa. Until you understand that the vote does not deliver wealth and the vote does not deliver land redistribution and the vote does not deliver financial redistribution. Until you understand that. Until you understand that. Then we will never be able to use the political apparatus to serve us, black family. My South African family, I got a layover tomorrow of a couple hours. If any of my Garveyite brothers in South Africa want to politic, you know, go get a bite to eat, pick me up from the airport, get a bite to eat, talk politics a little bit. Okay, hit me up on WhatsApp. You can add me on WhatsApp, 215-989-9858. We got to organize. We got to organize. The Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey said the greatest weapon used against African people was disorganization. The greatest weapon used against African people is disorganization. We got to organize. We got to organize. Garvey never said everybody needs to go back to Africa. The media made that up. Garvey never said everyone needs to go back to Africa. Okay? He never said that. He said only those who could benefit, only those who could offer something to Africa should go back to Africa. He never led a back to Africa movement. Do you really think I want to take all the blacks in America and bring them back here? Do you know how disappointed Africa would be in Dr. Umar if I brought 45 million homosexuals, white wife, lesbians, white husband, perm, weave, gangster rap, crack smoking, crack selling, materialism worshiping Negroes, white Jesus having black people back to Africa? Do you really think Africa want me to do that? Hell no. Garvey said, some of you Negroes are no good in America and will likewise be no good in Africa. Garvey said, some of you Negroes are no good in America and likewise will be no good in Africa. I'm not trying to take all y'all back. Half of y'all sick. Listen, and I'm speaking globally. 60% of the Africans on this planet, 60% of the Africans on this planet are useless to the freedom struggle. Useless. I'm just going to call it like I see it. 60% of you are useless. Useless. You in love with everything but yourself. Black people in love with everything but themselves. Ain't that something else? You will fight for anything except black folks. And you still think you can make the white man love you and accept you. 400 years, and you still think you can make your oppressor love you and accept you. You are crazy. You are crazy. No, I got love for the other ideologies out there. Shout out to all the ideologies. The Hebrew brothers, I rock with them. My Moorish brothers, I rock with them. Nation of Islam brothers and sisters. I got a lot of supporters in the Nation of Islam. I rock with them. Okay? Not everybody, but a lot of them. I got haters in every camp too. You know what I mean? My gods and earths, my Nawapians, my vegetarian brothers and sisters. I rock with everybody. I ain't got no beef. Let everybody do what they gonna do. Y'all just know that the only plan that's gonna save the black man is the plan laid out by the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, the first black man to raise the consciousness of African people globally towards a African pride, Pan-African nationalism and reclamation of our ancestral homeland. Facts. I'm Garvey. You can claim whoever you want to claim. I'm Garvey. All right? And Garvey ain't no God. He ain't no prophet. Ain't no religion. This is not a religion. This is a nation building philosophy. This is not religion. This is a nation building platform. We ain't got no religion to give you. None of that. This is about Africa for the Africans, those at home and those abroad. Remember, you can follow your brother, Dr. Umar Johnson, on Twitter and Instagram, at Dr. Umar Johnson, on Facebook, Dr. Umar Ifatunde. Okay? And I'm just going to enjoy my last day in Africa, go meditate at the mountain, you know, because Africa is a deity. See, in our culture, the continent itself, the earth, is a living energy, a manifestation of supreme consciousness. Supreme consciousness. So I'm going to go get me something to eat. I'm feeling good tonight. I might come back with another one. Y'all want me to come back later with another one? Do y'all need another Dr. Umar seminar tonight? What y'all think? Do y'all need another one tonight? Or y'all good? Okay. No, Portland, I need you to come to Seattle, Portland. I can't make it to Portland. I need Portland to come to Seattle. I need Nebraska to come to Minneapolis. Y'all going to have to start traveling because I'm going to be doing more international traveling. I told y'all this, that I'm coming to Germany. Germany is coming soon. Germany is coming soon. Okay, Germany. Holland is coming soon too. Holland is coming soon too. Okay. No, when you study the history of the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, you will learn. When you study the history of the most eminent prophet and king of black organizational leadership, the Honorable Marcus Garvey, you will learn that many in the Garvey movement wanted Garvey to make the movement a Christian thing. Others wanted him to make the movement a Muslim thing. Others wanted him to make the movement a Hebrew thing. And Garvey said, I respect all religion, but we have churches, we have mosques, and we have temples. This is not a religious movement. This is a movement to build a government, an international government for the African people of the world. There will be no religion on this movement. Study your Garvey. Well, if you send your sons or daughters on the Black College and Consciousness tour this summer, they're going to learn all about Garvey. They're going to learn about other people too, but they're going to learn all about Garvey. Seattle, you can get the dates. Go to go to princeofpanafricanism.eventbrite.com, and we spell Africa with a K. princeofpanafricanism.eventbrite.com. Or you can go to drumarjohnson.com and click on the Eventbrite link. Click on the Eventbrite link. Okay? Well, no, I'm going to have to do a little quick tutorial on the difference between religion and spirituality. I'm going to have to clear the air on that because, there's people out there who are trying to legitimize their religion by claiming it's African, and it's not African. Okay, in order for something to be an African spiritual system, there's certain core principles it has to meet, certain core requirements in order for religion to consider itself an African spiritual system. So I'm gonna have to talk about that. Okay? But I love y'all. I'm gonna ride out, and I might be back late. Race first.